Hello, welcome to Slick Willy Fly. And what we're going to do today is a Marabou Charlie. I love this fly, it's a great fly. So take a second, hit the like and subscribe, and let's talk a little bit about materials. So for our materials, what are we going to use? Besides a cocktail, of course. I'm going to use a Mustad stainless steel hook. I'm going to do a size 2, which will be better for the video. But that fly is awesome in a size 4. I'm going to use a little bit of this pink yarn under a clear ribbing, vinyl ribbing. I'm going to use one marabou feather, strung marabou feather in the color cream or sand, excuse me. One piece of silver crystal flash. And I'm going to take these. I'm going to find a good size in this Grizzly Hackel saddle, and I'm going to find a couple of feathers down here which will be the perfect size for this fly. So now let's change the camera angle, have a sip of our cocktails, and let's tie a fly. So like I said, we're going to go ahead and put a size 2 hook in the vise and get that in nice and tight. And I'm going to switch to a little 6/0 pink Vivus real quick, which I should have got ready before, but I didn't. It only takes a second. And one other piece of material that I forgot to mention is I'm going to use a dumbbell eye. I'm going to actually use brass. I mean, it works just as good with lead, but I tend to fish shallow, and I don't really need the lead. The brass eye gets the fly down, and I just like the way the brass eye looks. So I'm going to go ahead and start my thread right about where that brass eye is going to go. And now I'm going to take that brass eye and I'm going to place it far enough back so that I can make a head. And once I like that, and I do, then I just start doing some of these figure eights, which just locks it in. You're going under the dumbbell eye, but over the hook. And what that does is it just squeezes all those other earlier thread wraps, squeezes them all in nice and tight. Then I'm going to take my thread back to, I'm actually going to go into the bend because I want the ribbing to start in the bend. If you look at this fly, you can see that we have a little bit of a curve to that body. I think that actually matters. I think that's important. I might not have been in the frame. I'll show that again. I want to make sure you see that. So now I'm going to start a piece of ribbing. And this is like, the length is kind of a guess. But once you do this a few times, you start to figure out how long a piece of ribbing you need. And I'm just going to secure that in right at the back, right where we want the body to start. Now I'm going to take this yarn and I'm going to tie it in also in the back in about the same area. And I'm going to cut this tag off. Give it a little spin, which helps a lot, and just remove that tag. So now I'm going to go ahead and get my thread out of the way. And I'm going to use the rotary function on this vise, and I'm going to carefully wrap up the hook shank, all we're doing is we're giving this a little bit of this pink color that will show through under the ribbing. That's the only thing we're doing with this. So just take it to the dumbbell eyes, just like we did. Now I gotta bring my thread back, gotta shorten my thread. Come under the eyes, and now I could just capture it with a few quick turns. And I could take it away. Perfect. So now we take the ribbing, just cutting away some fuzzies. And the ribbing, I don't usually use the rotary function. We can. I don't normally do though. I just kind of like to stretch it and touching turns. I'm actually pulling the ribbing a little bit tight as I'm doing this. It gets so much easier once you get past the hook point. And we're just gonna bring it up the shank. You notice that when I do all this, any kind of body work, whether it's a dubbing, this vinyl ribbing, I always go in the same direction that I was going for with my thread. And I so many people just don't understand that. So many people, their natural instinct is to go in the opposite direction. But when you go in the same direction, you actually capture it much better. And that looks great. A nice little body. Now at this point, you have some options. You could put some UV resin on this. You could put some super glue on it. I've done that in the past, but we're gonna skip that step for the purpose of this video, just for keeping the video short. But know that that is a option. All right. So the next material in this super simple fly is a piece of Krystal Flash silver. I have one, which I fold in half. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you know, it should be somewhat close. That looks good. I'm going to fold that in half again. And again, somewhat close is good enough. And now we're going to put this on the hook. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to invert this. So much easier if I just invert this. Just got to make sure it's locked in the vise nice and hard and straight. That was pretty crooked. That's better. Alright, so now I can work a little easier because I don't want it to be too long. Of course, I'm going to trim this with a couple of loose wraps, making sure that I like the location of everything. Lock that a little bit. Bring the remaining over, always holding it the way I want it. Lock that nice and tight, just like that. I like to give it one wrap behind. I'm still on the front of that dumbbell eyes. And now I'm going to trim it. And the length that I'm going to trim is just longer than the hook. Just like that. Beautiful. Love the way that turned out. Okay, so now it's my, excuse me, I'll sip a cocktail, clear that up. Now it's my marabou feather. And this doesn't require any trimming unless the feather's too big, which in my case it's really not. I don't care that it's a little fluffy. I don't care that it's going to go on too long, and you'll see why in a second. I'm going to put it on 2 loose wraps. It looks too long, like we said. I'm just going to draw this down to the exact length that I'm looking for. And that looks like it's it. Crank that hard. Take this tag in. I'm going to give it a good spin. Sometimes it helps to moisten your fingers. I'm going to give it a good little spin, just like that, which tightens it up. And I'm going to carefully cut off that tag. Now I'm going to clean that whole head up with my beautiful pink thread. Nice. Any crazy wild fibers like these fibers, it's splayed. It's very simple. Any fiber that I don't like, I simply pluck them off. Marabou is pretty easy to rip. Marabou's tough, and it definitely swims awesome in the water. But you do have to be somewhat careful. You know, when you're taking the hook out of a fish's mouth, you definitely want to make sure you grab the hook and not the marabou, or you're not going to have marabou. And you want this fly to catch several fish. God, that came out awesome. I love the way that turned out. Alright, so the last piece of material is this awesome little grizzly feather that we talked about. So I need to find a couple that are a good length. And what I often do is I come in here and I just start eyeballing it. And then I try to find 2. That a lot of times is the most difficult part. Separating 2 feathers. So I got 2 there that look about what I'm looking for. Trying to get all the other feathers out of my fingers here. Perfect. So I have these 2 awesome little grizzly feathers. And this is going to make this marabou look much more crustacean. And of course the length is the length of the marabou. And what I do is I put it so that it goes right under or right up against the dumbbell eye. Is where I tie it in. And I'll do the same on the opposite side. I'm trying to do it in a way that you can see it a little easier. I'm going to do a couple of loose wraps first. Make sure I like where it ended up, which I do a lot. Now I could crank that tight and we can cut these tags off. Beautiful. So now it's a whip finish and a little UV resin. You know, Slick Willy is on Instagram, so I would be awesome if you guys would look me up on Instagram and check out Slick Willy, as I'm, you know, trying to grow my YouTube channel a little. So that's the fly. Came out really great. Super happy with the way that looks. That is an awesome one. This one is pink marabou, but it's the exact same fly, the exact same length. I used 4 feathers instead of 2. You know, it's just a matter of getting a little creative And now I'm just going to put a tiny drop of UV resin. I'm going to use this the applicator just to move it around. I am going to put a little bit on the dumbbell eye also. I want to make sure that dumbbell eye is nice and secured. And that's plenty of resin there. Put my cocktail out of the way so I could do a little spin here. Wow, I am really happy the way this fly turned out. This fly is gonna just get a ton of bites. That is awesome. And like everything that I use with UV resin, I'm gonna go ahead and set this in my windowsill tomorrow and let it cure for the day, because I'm not a commercial fly tyer like you've heard me say, so putting a couple flies in the windowsill is no problem for me. Alright, so there it is, the Marabou Charlie. So I think it came out great. You know, I would love for people to start sending me some fish pictures. I haven't gotten very many fish pictures, and I know these flies catch fish. Here's a pink version. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to look for Slick Willie on Instagram. And good luck catching, and thank you for watching, and see you on the next video.